I noticed a recent trend where videos are talking about kids going no contact with their parents. And I listened to some of the videos of the children explaining their rationale and reasons, and then I also wanted to hear what the parents had to say. While doing my research for this topic, I came across a 3-part series hosted by Amir Odom. I'll leave the links down in the description for you to check out his videos. He did a very good job talking about parents having problems with Gen Z kids going no contact, and parents weighing in with their responses. Now, as a father who is actually part of that group of parents that have kids that have gone no contact, I wanted to reach out to the parents and share some insights that I've gained along my journey that maybe will help them to better relate to what's going on and navigate these difficult waters. In this video, I'll be discussing 3 points: communication, self-awareness, and understanding. Let's get into it. Now, with regard to communication, I think it's important that we as parents take the time to do more listening rather than speaking. Oftentimes, when we ask our children what's going on and they start breaking things down and sharing their feelings, we are quick to get defensive and want to try to explain things in a way that keeps us from looking bad in the situational scenario. Now, I will caution you with regard to that, because once we get into a defensive posture, parents, we take the focus off of the child and put it back on us. Now it's about how we feel, what we went through, and what we dealt with. Not saying that anything that we dealt with and went through is invalid, but right now we're trying to understand what the children are saying, what's going on with them, where they're coming from, and why they feel the way they feel. It's important that we take time to validate their feelings and understand that they were on the receiving end of some things that maybe we weren't cognizant of or aware of that we were doing, or they're seeing things through their lens. And just because they're seeing it a certain way doesn't necessarily make it right or true, but it doesn't make it less valid. And we need to make sure we take time to understand before we respond to what they're doing. And I think coming from a non-defensive posture will make it a lot easier for the communication to flow. Now, talking about self-awareness, this is about where parents have to understand that we oftentimes parent with blinders on, right? We think that we're doing everything that we possibly can do correctly, and we forget that we don't understand how people are receiving us. Yes, we don't have much control of how they receive us. We only have control over how we present ourselves. And it's okay to be wrong, parents. It's not a sign that you're a bad person per se, that because you're wrong or you made mistakes as a parent. We did the best we could do at the time with the limited knowledge we had. But we also have to understand that accountability is required, right? Even though we have our own perspective, don't let your ego get so far ahead of you in the way that you're not able to take accountability. Even though we may have responded and said things, as I said earlier, we don't control how it's received. And if it's received in a bad way, or it hurt the child's feelings, or it upset them in some kind of way, we have to understand that's a possibility. Just like it's a possibility with anybody out here in the world besides our kids. You don't know how people are going to receive you. So to walk around thinking that everything you say and do must be right because you have to be right is the wrong attitude to have. Step back, zoom out a little bit, and recognize that everybody don't receive you the same way, and it's okay that you made a mistake. Own it, and let's figure out how to move forward. Now, the last point I want to talk about is understanding. As parents, we have to hear this harsh truth. Our children didn't choose to be here. I know that's hard to hear, but let that sink in for a second. Our children didn't choose to be here. We chose the responsibility of becoming parents. And as such, we have to understand that even though we chose the responsibility of being their parents, it doesn't mean that we got it always correctly and did it right. We made mistakes, as I said before. And if the children decide to take this position that they want to go no contact, the only thing that we can do is respect it. Hopping online and making videos, cussing and fussing at the kids doesn't solve anything. At this point, we're trying to build bridges, trying to reconnect with our kids. We're not trying to make the gap even wider. And getting in our feelings, getting defensive, feigning, ignoring the fact that we need to be accountable for our actions is not going to help anything. What I'm saying in a general sense, as the parents, it's our responsibility to raise above it and make ourselves available to the children and try to mend the fences if we can. And if we can't, we have to accept that is for what it is. It's tough. I'm telling you, it's not easy to sit here and say, you have to understand and respect their decision and move on with your life. But this is what happens when they become adults and young adults. They make decisions. Life's about choices. And when you make those choices, you got to deal with the consequences. And we made some poor choices as parents, and our children suffered because of it. And now here we are reaping the consequences of those choices. So no, it's not ideal, right? Of course, I want to speak to my children, but I also understand why they're upset. I understand where they're coming from, and I'm giving them space and opportunity to do their own version of healing. And then one day, hopefully they reach out and come back. But at the end of the day, I don't have a problem, and I've learned the hard way at being stubborn, at allowing my ego to get in the way, that communication, self-awareness, and understanding are key if you ever want to mend those fences. Now, let me know your thoughts in the comments about this conversation. Are you another parent going through the same thing that I'm dealing with right now? Or are you someone who had went through it and perhaps found a way to mend the fences? Perhaps you feel comfortable enough to share some tips with the rest of us to maybe help us get on the right track. Until next time, be well.